Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, I am very excited for our guest because she is a star, an author, a sister, a daughter, a mother,
yes,
and a wife. And she is my friend. We met in 1996 at the Groundlings. Please welcome Cheryl Hines.
Hello, Heather.
Hello. I have the book.
Yes.
Looking Gorgeous, Unscripted. Everybody needs to go right now and pre-order it because, you guys, it's juicy, it's good. I unfortunately have only got to page 200 because I just got it a couple days ago. And but my God, it's great.
Thank you.
It's really a good, fun, interesting, juicy read.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I wanted it to be like I'm just telling a friend.
Yeah,
this is what's happened. It's crazy,
and it is so crazy. And you know, for people that don't really know your life, so, you know, you came from just a really close-knit family, middle class.
Yeah.
From what part of Florida?
Tallahassee, Orlando, yeah.
And then you eventually went to college and made your way to LA.
Yeah.
We met at the Groundlings, and I was trying to remember. I think I was in the Sunday show already for like 6 months, and then I think you were in it.
I think that's
and we were in it
right.
for about a year together.
Yeah.
And then I did not go on past 18 months. But you became a regular member, right?
Yes.
Okay, good for you. Well, look at where we are now. Okay. So.
But we wrote a lot together.
We did.
You used to make me laugh because, because you were already in and you knew the ropes. And then we would say, you want to write together, and you would say, I need you to show up with 3 good ideas.
Did I really say that?
Yes. And I was like, Jesus, okay, well, I'll do my best.
You know what? That's so funny, like how different. Okay, this is going to be a fun episode because there's probably going to be a lot of different memories that maybe match up and maybe don't. Because for me, I love funny people, but I am a shallow bitch and I like a pretty friend. And I saw you walk in and I'm like, now that's a girl I could hang outside of this dorky theater with. Like, I'm like, this girl can go to some fun spots with me.
We did.
She is pretty enough.
Oh my gosh,
we did. So.
Oh my gosh, now that you're saying this, memories are coming back. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I was like, do you want to go to the Sky Bar with me? What is that hotel now? Is that the Mondrian still?
I don't know.
But
back in the day.
Cindy Crawford's husband, before they were married, Gerber, he owned it, and it was just a hot spot because you were outside and it was on Sunset.
It was beautiful,
and
overlooks the city, and it was really the place.
And it was very hard to get in, but I had figured out a way to get in, to which I would call this number and with an English accent, and I'd say, hello, I'm calling. I've got a few girls coming in from New York from the Ford Modeling Agency that would like to enjoy the Sky Bar. Can I put their names down? And then I'd put our real names down because you have to show IDs, whatever. And so I picked you up and you were living with, you talk about your fun foursome of friends.
Yeah.
Your 2 gay best friends, Paul and Eric.
Eddie.
Sorry. Paul and Eddie. And then also your 2 roommates that you got a couple years into struggling in LA.
Yeah.
And you come out and you go, I think you said, can I bring them both or something? And I was like, no, because I did this weird fake thing and I only have the certain names or whatever. And I am telling you, throughout the last, so that would have been 1996, so almost 30 years, it's haunted me that was so mean. Because I remember you ran out and you're like, oh God, really? And I was like, yeah. And I was always like, God, she was so nice. I wonder if she ever just like thought that was super bitchy of me.
I don't remember that at all.
Good. See, that's what I'm saying. That's so many times people, like, as you get older, you know, and it's why, you know, you got to give some people some grace and stuff. Because
Yeah.
they're like, no, I was not even thinking of that. Whatever.
No,
But well,
no.
I'm good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because then I saw one of the girls when you came to Chelsea, and she's still working with
Maria,
you.
yeah.
Maria. And she was such a delight.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could have come to the Sky Bar. It wouldn't have mattered.
Well,
we could have gotten her in.
she probably, you're right, though, because at that time, you really did. Your name had to be on the list.
Yeah.
And they were not letting people in. And,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how the whole system worked. And you were like, no, you got to do this. And I said, okay. But they were fine with it, too. They were like, oh, okay.
And then do you remember we met some two guys and ended up back in their hotel room?
Yes.
But we did escape with clothes on. Nothing too much. What was it? Some guy, you were like, I have to get out of here. Was it a guy sucking your toe or something?
I think he did want, he did want me to, yeah, he was doing something odd. And I was like, this can't be a good Saturday night. I need to go. But we got there together. So I remember one time when we were at the Sky Bar and these guys ordered a bottle of Dom Perignon.
Oh, yes.
And,
God, that's good.
and I was chewing gum and you put your hand out and you were like, spit out your gum. You are not chewing that and drinking the champagne at the same time. And I was like, okay.
See, like that type of stuff, I don't remember. But I remember us doing some really funny sketches. And you sent me one of like, remember this on a DM. And it was, we decided, but we did a sketch that our job was to test deodorant. We had to smell people's armpits.
Yeah. And then, I don't know how long ago. Pretty recently, I came across an article where there were women, smelling people's armpits. And I sent it to you. I was like, Heather, this was us. And then we had the guys, when we did the sketch, they were so sweaty in like tank tops. And we would go, oh, actually, I'm smelling some aluminum.
Yeah.
A little bit of lavender. We were very serious about it. It just really made me laugh.
Oh, my gosh. So, I mean, what's great is, you share those struggling times. And one of the articles in your book is that you dated a non-theater entertainment person for quite a while.
Yeah.
The investment banker while you were the struggling bartender.
Yeah.
I find that story to be so interesting because there's that moment where you kind of are like, oh, what if he hadn't cheated?
Yeah.
And what if I had married him?
I know.
Would I have been satisfied just being a wife and mother and living in the suburbs and doing the country club life?
Right.
Like, that's so interesting because I've thought about similar things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think about that because I was so in love with him at the time. And he, was, I don't want to say normal, but when you're in this industry, everybody is a little crazy.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then they're not going to make it because it's a crazy industry, right? So, but he would always, like I said in the book, we would drive by Starbucks and it would drive him crazy that people are just sitting out there drinking coffee at 2 p.m. He's like, does anybody in this town have a job? I'm like, they are trying to get one, but they're just having a latte while they're figuring it out. But he used to drive him crazy.
I used to love to go there. And when you'd have the paper script that someone would send, the agents would actually have a runner drop it off at your apartment. And then I could go to Starbucks on Montana in Santa Monica and look like I had some major shit going on.
Right, you'd open your script.
Yeah, highlight.
Those were the days. Simpler times.
But with that guy, I was like, wait a minute. As we were getting to the book, I'm like, I feel like you might have left out a juicier part. Or is that a different point? Was there a story where you found a used condom?
Mm-hmm. That's him.
It was. Okay.
I didn't put that part in my book because I thought, I don't know if people want to hear about a used condom.
Yeah, we do. Because I want to say, didn't you do something kind of like badass about it?
Well, I had a key to his apartment. He had a key to my apartment. I was going to go see him. We decided we should take one night off because we were together too much. So you go out with your friends, I'll go out with my friends. And then when I went over to his apartment the next Sunday, he wasn't there. But as soon as I walked in, I was like, whoa, something feels weird here. Something weird has happened here. And I called one of my friends and I said, I think Charlie cheated. And she said, why would you even think that? I go, I don't even know. I just feel it. I feel it in this apartment. And she said, well, when he comes back, just say, is there anything you want to tell me? And I said, okay, that's good. That's good. And then I took a shower. And then when I turned my hair over to put a towel on my wet hair, I could see in his trash can a used condom. And I called her and I said, okay, I know he cheated. I was really devastated. But I packed all of my stuff. I put it in my car and just waited. And, he's a golfer and I remember he had like a, I don't know, 3-iron or something by his fireplace. And he had this huge window that overlooked the beach. And I just sat there.
That's a sad place to leave when you get into your little crappy car with. Were
you
you in the
yourself.
Groundlings at that point? Did you have
No.
wigs in the backyard?
No.
The thing about with the Groundlings is it's a lot of wigs.
A lot of
It's
wigs.
a lot of wigs. There's always
Lot
like
of
5
props.
wigs and like a G-string in my back, like
Yeah.
and a weird outfit and
Wig
like
caps.
Yeah, your car was like a giant
Yeah.
dirty purse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was a red Toyota Tercel that
Oh,
had no air
I had
conditioning.
a red Celica. Okay, continue.
But I kept looking at that window and I was like, gosh, I wish I was one of those people that would I really wanted to smash his friggin' picture window. But then, I kept
Good that you didn't.
I know, because,
'Cause that would have made the news during the recently.
during now?
Yeah. What a crazy bitch you are.
But I was like, oh, I see how like somebody could just be so hopped up on adrenaline to do something like that. But then I thought, well, then he'll have a shattered window, and then how is he going to fix it? And that's a lot of money. And this is what I'm thinking about while I'm waiting for him to come back.
Yeah.
And then and then I said, do you want to tell me anything about last night? And he's like, no. I said, oh, really? Did nothing interesting happen? No. Really? Because I'm pretty sure you had sex with someone else. He was like, no, I didn't. I was like, oh my God. I said, well, I'm going to stop talking to you if you're not going to be truthful, because there's no point in this conversation. I will just leave. And, at that point, like the cabinets were open and the drawers were open because I was so mad when I packed all my stuff. And he's looking around like, I don't know what's going on. I know. Huh? And
Is it your period?
yeah.
Your period.
This
Why are
must
you
be
acting
you.
crazy?
You're
How long you'd been dating him at this point?
2 years.
That's very
He
significant.
had moved from New York.
To be
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
That's very significant.
Yeah.
And you're at the age where like marriage is probably pending.
I was 29.
Yeah, like that's the
And I said, well, okay, well, let's just cut to the chase. You clearly had sex with someone last night. He's like, why would you say that? Because of the used condom that I can see in your trash. And he was like, that's my roommate's. I was like, oh, okay. So your roommate had sex with somebody, then walked into your bathroom that you have to go through your bedroom to get to your bathroom to take off his condom. And something's not tracking. And but then I guess he did finally admit it. And I just left. And I said I never want to see you again. That I talked about in the book that
it was hard, really
it was
hard.
so hard.
Yeah.
It was sad. That I talk about, I was working at that hotel, and one of the security guards, who was this giant 300-pound guy who was very sweet to me. And he, he's walking me to my car, and he said, but what's going on? You seem so sad. And I said, yeah, I broke up with my boyfriend. He asked me what happened, and I told him, and he said, I could take him out. I was like, what do you mean, take him out? He said, yeah, I know a guy that could take him out.
And he was dead serious.
100% dead serious. And I said, oh.
Your life really could have gone so many different ways.
I said,
that's what's fun about the book. Like literally, if you would have been like, you know what? Yeah. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, Cheryl, it's me, Heather. Oh, tap on the phone. This is where we're doing the interviews now. You're still.
There's a glass, and we're putting our hands up to touch each other.
You're still doing, your 30 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then I said, no, I definitely do not want you to do that, but thank you. And he said, okay, where does he work? And tell me his full name. And I said, why? He said, because I'll just wait for him in the parking lot and take out his knee with a crowbar. I was like, oh my God. that is so nice of you. But I'm going to say no. Like, I will never tell you his name or where he works.
Yeah, that's amazing. The other there's so many fun stories, but the other things that I didn't know was the $2,000 pyramid scheme.
Do you remember that time in
Yes,
LA?
I do, because actually my husband, when we watched a documentary in the last few years that was about the beach thing where this woman was murdered, they didn't know if it was her estranged husband or if it was someone pissed about that pyramid
scheme.
It was a pyramid scheme where, in a nutshell, you put in $2,000 and then you get other people too and other people too. And then eventually you can walk away with like $60,000. But just like any pyramid scheme, whether you're selling clothing or whatever, when everybody in the neighborhood has done it, there's no fresh meat. And then the people at the bottom are just out $2,000 because they don't have new people, but they don't have wealthy enough people to tap into. They don't have the relatives and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. And so your friends did well with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They went through a few times, Paul and Eddie. And this was after, cheating Charlie. And I was so down. I was just like, I had no joy in my life. And my sister, Becky, who is still, is in Florida, she was talking to me, and the only time I would sort of come alive is when I would talk about the pyramid scheme because I was watching them, and it was so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, people would dress up. They'd go to
it's a dinner, like a house dinner party, right?
It was like a warehouse. It was a warehouse. I mean, I think there were different versions of it, right?
Right.
Depending on your pyramid.
Yeah.
If you had a classy one or not. And
I think Peter, my husband, was approached at Q's. Remember Q's, the pool hall on Wilshire?
Did he do it?
If he did, it was one of those things where it was very little money, and he realized like this is wrong and this is a scheme. But he knew like a couple guys that it was getting scary. Like their scamming was, and he was just like, I don't want to be part of this. Yeah. But this is before I knew him. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you figure anything that's called a pyramid scheme.
They weren't even trying to call it something else.
I mean, like, I don't remember any other name for it. It wasn't like, the group or something.
Right, yeah.
And so my sister, who had no money, she had no money.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know how she got $2,000 in cash, but she did, and she sent it to me. And I was so excited, dressed up. Paul and Eddie took me to the party, and, it was either you would tap somebody on the shoulder, and then you go into a little private part of the room and you give them the $200,000 cash. I mean, 200,000. 2,000. And then that would get you started on your pyramid scheme. But then mine stalled because I was not good at it. I'm not, people be like, well, should I borrow money from my mom? And I'd say no. Jesus, no.
But that's what you're supposed to do if you want to be successful at this.
That's what you're supposed to do.
You have to, just like a Scientology or whatever, max out every credit card, do whatever it takes, because in the end, it's all going to work out. Yeah.
I didn't have a good hustle.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, it's not going to end well. You definitely shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And even Paul and Eddie said, yeah, we're not going to join your pyramid. You're terrible at this.
We've got our own thing going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then that was before the Groundlings. Before you got to the performing part of the Groundlings. And then I remember when, we were friends before there was Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. So we were like on the phone talking friends.
Yeah.
And it would be so stressful when you'd find out how many scenes you were going to be in on Sunday. And then we'd all like bitch and complain about it and talk about like, why did that one get in and who's da-da-da-da. And one of the things was, and you've talked about it in the book, that really it was such a great showcase. And back in those days, we couldn't just do really great TikToks or send a video of us doing stand-up to an agent.
Right.
Like, they had to be there. They had to be there.
See you in
person. They had to come on, a Sunday at 5:00. And so there'd be times where they'd be like, oh my gosh, I've got an agent coming.
Yeah.
And you were like, babe, can I get one more bit? Because it'd be like 18 scenes. And then other people would be like, well, I want to shine. And maybe that agent would pick me.
Yeah.
And that did happen to me, but it was in stand-up.
In
In stand-up, I paid $64 for all these agents to come. It was like the final thing if they were going to sign me or not. And right before I went on was this really funny guy. He was a friend of mine, and he did well. And so right after he went on, they called him over to sit at the booth and talk to him the whole time while I was on stage, and then they signed him.
That's so awful.
There were just so many stories like that. But
That's
you
so
had
awful.
a successful story because you were on stage doing a really funny bit that you also wrote.
Yeah.
And the casting person saw you that was looking to cast the wife of Larry David.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was amazing. And that was just what people don't know. That was just like a 1 hour like special to kind of
Right. Curb Your Enthusiasm started out, as a 1 hour special, like a stand-up doing a 1 hour special of stand-up.
Now I remember that was so funny where he says he's going to do it. And then the whole thing was at the end, he's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
like,
have
I'm
an
not doing
act.
it.
I'm not doing this. It was so, to me as a stand-up, I thought it was the most brilliant, funny thing.
Yeah.
And then to see you in it. And I remember I called you. Like, I remember where I was when I called you and I was like, oh my God, congratulations. You were so great in that. And I remember you were like, and I go, and this is tacky. I don't know if I asked you or if you told me, but you told me what you got paid.
I got nothing. I don't even remember what I
do.
got. You do?
Can I just say it?
I don't see why not.
7,000.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Because I remember I go, oh, that's how much they're getting at SNL per week. I knew how much
Really?
that,
I
how
didn't
much
know
they were
that.
getting first year. It was 7,000 a week. I like remember weird stuff. So anyway, and then I think you told me then, but here's the secret, Heather, they're going to make it a series.
Yeah,
That's so exciting.
Yeah, because when I did that 1 hour special, I asked my agent, I said, is it possible that this would turn into a show? And he's like, no. I said, okay, that's fair. And then when I was at the Groundlings, somebody, and I don't remember who, a writer or a producer, somebody came up and said, oh yeah, I hear they're going to make it into a series. I said, oh, that's great. I haven't heard that. Nobody's told me. So I'm just waiting to, for the call.
Yeah.
Always waiting for the call.
And so he calls you and he says, okay, it's going to be made into a series. And obviously you're thrilled. That is all of our dreams.
It's your dream.
All of our dreams was to get a television series.
Yeah.
That you had a place to go.
Yeah.
That you had a regular paycheck.
Yeah.
And that you could do your thing.
Yeah.
That's all we ever wanted in that 99
That's the
person.
dream. That is
Only
the
99
dream.
people could even sit in that place. And there was 18 of us in Sunday Show. We couldn't sell it out.
It's like our friends were like, I saw it last week and the week before. Can I have a break? No.
But I would go to the show. I went to the Sky Bar one night. I don't know if you're with me or not. And I met Vince Vaughn.
I remember.
And he did come.
I know.
And I couldn't believe he was there. I was like, yeah, come. And he was like really interested in it because he was obviously into comedy. And then all of a sudden we're in between scenes and I'm backstage. And one of the main company members comes in the back where our green room is or whatever, our dressing room. And he's like, oh, that guy from Swingers is upstairs. And I'm like,
oh, you didn't know he was going to be there?
I didn't know that he would come.
Put it out there.
I said I'm going to be there, whatever, tomorrow night. And then we went on a few dates and made out with him and stuff.
I know. I remember that from your book.
Oh,
I remember
that for reading my book.
I love your book. I love Never Blue Balls in This
I
County.
love reading all of my friends' books. I can't imagine a friend, even if you're not close, writing a book and you don't bother to read it. Like, how are you not so fucking curious?
Oh my God, Heather, when you wrote about the marching band, the marching band uniform in the closet, and you freaked out because you were like, you were in the marching band?
A guy I was dating, yeah.
That made me laugh so hard. I was like, only Heather is mad that he was in the marching band because it's not cool. And he didn't tell you. Like, you didn't even have a chance to reject him on that. On that alone. You were in too deep by the time you learned it. And it was like, I didn't even get to tell you no because you were in the marching band.
Oh my God. And so, I mean, Curb Your Enthusiasm was such a great show. And also, I want to say, not to belittle the work of it, but what a great, honestly, easy job in that you are improving. You're not memorizing your lines. You're not doing a million takes. Like when I guest starred on Reno 911, I felt the same way.
Right.
And then when we did After Lately, which was modeled kind of after Reno 911 Curb, of like a, or The Office, well, The Office is scripted, but more like Curb, was, you do it a few times and that's it. And you can improv and, I mean, how
it was
fun.
No, Susie Essman and I used to always look at each other and say, oh my God, this is the best job anybody could ever have. No lines to memorize. I mean, usually when you're working, you have really early calls and you're up all night just like, gotta get these lines down. I mean, even, I remember a lot of time just sitting in traffic, just going over my lines. But yes, Curb was all improvised. So even for the first 3 seasons, I didn't get to look at the story outlines. Larry would write a 3 to 5 page story outline, but he didn't want me to see them. So when I would get to work, I would say, can anybody tell me what this show is about? And they'd say, no, you'll find out. Larry will tell you what he wants you to know. Like, okay.
And then in it, you guys get divorced.
Yeah.
And was that because in his real life he got divorced? Like, why did that divorce happen?
I think he told me that he wanted to do stories about dating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I remember that call too, because he called me. He's like, well, I've got some good news and bad news, mostly bad news for you. And I was like, great. He said, we are going to do another season, but you're not going to be in it.
At all? So you weren't in that season at all?
No, there was one season I wasn't in. When they went to New York. And I said, okay. I was doing other things.
Yeah,
I had other shows.
You got a bunch of movies.
Yeah, I did movies. I did.
You did RV.
Yeah, RV.
You did
Waitress.
Yeah, you were getting a lot. Now, were those movies, because now you're an established name, were they being offered, or did you still have to read an audition?
They were being offered, but I had to meet and talk to the director to see if, and you have to talk about the script in a knowledgeable way.
Yeah.
Talk about how you see your character, but completely different, right? Than auditioning is so hard, isn't it?
Oh, I'm a horrible auditioner. I one time heard that people were doing beta blockers, so their nerves would I get so it's so much about getting ready, driving over there, and I really didn't totally memorize, and because some acting teacher told me not to. Wrong. Memorize it, know it inside and out.
Yeah. And you can still hold the script, but
but
you memorize it.
It's so much better. Yeah. And then when you'd see your friends in the waiting room, and I always remember being like, oh, isn't that nice that those 2 girls are so classy, and they realize if it's not my part. If you get it, it's not in God's plan. Because I'm like, fuck.
I want it.
Or when the casting director would come out and hug the
one
girl,
of them.
They know each
Only
other.
one
they
of them.
go way back, and they're laughing, and they're like, I'm coming to your birthday on Saturday. I know. No, you're not. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
I know. No, I remember Jennifer Coolidge. We were both auditioning for, that's how long ago it was, right? What was it? Something Around the Sun?
The with the aliens? Yeah, with Kristen. Yeah.
Can't remember the name.
Third rock from the sun. Yeah.
And
so it was a guest role.
Yeah, it was a guest role. And when I got there, I see Jennifer Coolidge, who was amazing, right? And she's literally clipping in hair extensions while she's talking to me before she goes in. And she said, what is going on here? I said, what do you mean? She goes, oh, all the girls are just looking at their scripts. And I said, well, it's an audition. A lot of people want to get their line. She's like, I guess I should have. Yeah, maybe I should have memorized it or something. And she went in, and she's still clipping in her. She doesn't seem to have a care in the world, right?
Yeah.
She goes in, and it was on the other side of the door, so you could hear if they laughed, you could hear it, but you couldn't hear what they were saying, but you could hear if they laughed. She went in. It seemed like they laughed from the moment she went in to the moment she left. And the rest of us are looking at each other like, do you have the same?
Yeah.
We all have the same scripters. Hers just really funny. And she got the part. And then later when I saw her at the Groundlings, I said, what was your take on the script? Because they were laughing so hard. And I did not, it didn't seem that funny. But she said, well, when I went in, they said, oh, we've been dying to work with you for 10 years. And I said, you can go fuck yourselves. You've had 10 years to call me. And she said they laughed and laughed, and she got the part. But she's also really good,
But I also had such an anxiety about like thinking that if I did anything wrong, it would ruin
I know.
It would ruin it. And I'm like, and then I realized later on, and I always tell people this with advice or whatever, I'm like, just know that if you go out for any kind of job, acting, whatever, any kind of date, the other person wants it to be you.
Yeah.
They don't want to continue the search. That's not fun.
Yes. So that is important to remember.
And I think so many times people walk in thinking the world is against them somehow.
And the casting director, or like you're saying, if you're going to interview for a job, they want you to be so great because they want you to walk out and say, wow, we just found that person.
Right, yeah.
But for a long time, you're right. I felt like that too.
There's so much self-doubt.
Yeah, where you feel like, oh, I have to go prove myself and they probably don't want me, but I have to go talk them into it.
Yeah.
And that's not really the case. People want to like you. They're the ones that called you in.
Yes. I also remember Jennifer said to me, Jennifer Coolidge, she goes, if the part says, because we would get those breakdowns and you could read them, the part says attractive, I could do it. If it says very attractive, no. She goes, but if it says character looking, then I'm better looking than the character. Then I really get the part because I'm just a little bit cuter than what they were expecting, but I can be funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's so great.
Yeah, she's really so talented. But also her attitude is fantastic.
Such a good attitude. Yeah, I remember we talked on the phone and during her height of the White Lotus, and I couldn't believe like she answered my DM and we talked because it had been years, But when I didn't make the main company, the night before I realized I didn't make the main company is who I had a conversation with, and she was like, "Let me tell you, Heather, sometimes people get in this company and they stay and they become fucking freaks." She's like, so if you don't get it, just know you're in great company. Like you're in great, because it could be really comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
When did you, because I don't know the answer to this, when did you, and I've explained Groundlings to people, but it's 30 spots. And if you, of those 30 spots, you can continue to perform on stage in the Friday and Saturday long run show. If you give that spot up, you could still come back and teach, do a Thursday, but you can't be in that. So people that felt it was very important that they have that showcase, sometimes held on to it way longer. Like they're on SNL, they're on a WB sitcom, they're on a bus.
Yeah.
And you're like,
you were like, you
can let
go.
The spot up for this person?
For somebody coming in.
Yeah. So how did you decide, like, okay, well, I think my career is in a good enough spot that I can give up the Groundlings?
Yeah. Well, when I got Curb when I think I was in the Sunday Company, maybe the Sunday Company, but it, hadn't come out. I don't even know if I had shot it yet. But so when I got into the main company, I was shooting Curb, but Curb was only shooting 10 episodes, and Larry said, we're only doing one season, nobody needs to get excited. So
so him, right?
Yeah. So I did the first, I stayed in at least for a year. And then when it was clear that we were going to do another season, and the show was, I would say critically acclaimed, was getting attention and a Golden Globe, and it was clear that it was on a path. That's when I didn't stay in the main company for very long because that's when I stepped down.
Yeah, because you're a classy lady. And you care about others. And you're like, I don't need this platform.
But you work so hard to get there. You work so hard to get there that you don't want to give it up. And there's nothing's for sure.
Nothing's for sure. But that Groundlings, you can stay until you're 90.
Yeah.
So you had Lisa Kudrow as a teacher.
I did.
I had her for intermediate.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you love her?
I loved her. And a funny story about that, which I've told on the show before, but whatever, Cheryl hasn't heard it. Anyway, really quickly. So she was a teacher. She was we had a lot of substitutes because she was on Mad About You
Right.
as the waitress.
Mhm.
And then she said, I'm going to step down from the main company. And I was like, why? And she goes, well, I got this pilot. And I was like, honey, a lot of pilots don't get picked up.
It
And
might
she
not
goes,
get picked up.
I go, what's it even about? She's like, it's about 6 friends living in New York. And I just imagined like her and a bunch of people like on a subway. And I'm like, this sounds awful. And then she goes, I go, I don't know. Like,
That's
you
a risk.
sure you want to
Yeah.
do this? You know, at the time she was only like 31. And I go, and she goes, well, it's following Seinfeld. And I go, okay,
Still,
you know what? I'll
that's-
pray for
that's-
you.
Yeah,
Like, I'll
good
pray-
luck with that
yeah.
little project.
You got to bet on yourself. You got to have
Yeah.
the confidence of yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about having that effortless, glowy skin look. Well, not many can achieve it, but you can now with Jones Road Beauty. I absolutely love their beauty balm. You don't need brushes. You don't need a sponge. You use your fingers, and it absolutely just gives you this glowy, healthy look. I do it when I'm going around my club or for a walk, pickleball, just to have a little something more going on when I don't need a full face of makeup. And actually, people are like, what are you doing to your skin? What is this? Is it microneedling? Is it that? No, it gives you this natural, great glow. Every formula is packed with skin loving ingredients, so it's actually good for your skin. It nourishes your skin instead of clogging or caking it like regular makeup. And it just really feels natural. It feels like you're not wearing any makeup at all. Modern day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. For a limited time, our Juicy Scoop listeners are getting a free cool gloss on their first purchase when they use code Juicy Scoop at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code Juicy Scoop at checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support Juicy Scoop and tell them that Heather McDonald sent you. Hey, are you dealing with hair issues? I'm talking thinning or shedding, but feel like there's just no way to fix it. Well, there are just too many products out there that tell you that they can. Well, let me tell you the one that actually delivers, and it's Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel good about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. Adding Nutrafol into your daily routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription required. Automated deliveries and free shipping keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our Juicy Scoop listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Juicy Scoop. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code Juicy Scoop. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Juicy Scoop. So when you met your first husband, the father of your daughter,
Paul Young.
Catherine, who goes by
Yes.
Kat, now he was a manager. I'm curious, in that pairing of falling in love with him, did that elevate your career because he knew what he was doing? Was he putting you in even a better stratosphere than you already were as just a regular on a show?
I would say yes. He wasn't my manager for a long time, but he was very helpful in guiding me and saying, Curb Your Enthusiasm is a very specific show. And you should, you have a lot of time off in between seasons. So you should be going in for films. And even if you can't do another TV show, because I at that point I couldn't because of Curb, you should be doing other things. And my agent at the time, I remember him saying this. He said, and I said that to my agent. I wasn't with a big agency then.
Mm-hmm. Still, even though you're in Curb, was
Yeah.
it no one was trying to poach you?
They were, but I said no. I want to stay with this agent.
I want to
because
be
he was-
loyal because
Yeah.
you're a classy lady. Yeah.
And I said, I would like to go and do films in between. And he said, that's not really how it works. He's like, you're on TV and that doesn't happen. I said, and at the time, I remember Kelsey Grammer had just done a film. I said, Kelsey Grammer just did a film. And he said, you're no Kelsey Grammer. It's like, and then I would go home and tell Paul, and his brain would explode. He was like, "Oh my God, now I'm gonna have to call the agent." So he did a lot of work where he would call the agent, or he would, if he knew about a project, he would say, "Oh, well, maybe you should look at Cheryl for this project." So after,
Yeah, but going back to that agent
Yeah.
thing, I always remember Kim Kardashian had said she had a publicist, and this is a long time ago. And right, I don't even know if the show had come out or whatever. And she's like, I want to be like on the cover of magazines one day. And the publicist said, oh, honey, you're never going to be on a cover of a magazine. We'll try to get you, on the red carpet asking people questions. And luckily she had the confidence to be like, well, then this isn't the person,
right,
that should be representing
Yeah.
me. And it's like your dreams have to be bigger
Yeah.
than everyone else's.
yeah,
And so many times we do like, even with the Sunday Company, I didn't realize I would manifest stuff. And you clearly in your book, you're manifesting things throughout your life kind of without knowing what that was. And
Yeah.
same with me because
Yeah.
The Secret hadn't come out. But I remember going to the, you remember the crowd,
Yes,
The Secret?
and everybody
It
read The
changed my
Secret.
life. And so it really did. It really did change my life.
How did it change your life?
Because I was at home with my children.
Well, but does everybody know what The Secret is?
The Secret was a book that came out that was truly about manifestation and like
Like a
say
philosophical
it, believe it,
look
see
on,
it.
Yeah.
Some people would, make boards and cut out magazines of like, I want to go to Hawaii next year.
vision
Here's a
board.
check for $1,000. Or
You
the Jim-
see yourself
the Jim,
doing it.
Jim Carrey has a classic story of where he wrote himself a $10 million check
Right.
and he put a date on it. And literally like weeks before that date, he was offered a movie for $10 million, but he had written it like 20 years
Right.
prior, like just things like that. And so I was with my kids and I was still going out for little auditions and things like that. And I hadn't done stand up in many years. I lived in Woodland Hills. I was just telling my son this and I realized this later. I never lived like in LA. I never lived where the agents and the people were moving and shaking. And I kind of realized in the last year, I wonder if I had gone to those schools and seen the parents. Like, would I just be top of mind? Because sometimes you just see someone, and you're like, that's who I need. Like, I
Right.
remember I was at a dinner with Tracy Ellis Ross. We had our first show together, Lyricist Lounge. And she took me to this cool restaurant on 3rd Street. And then she called me to tell me she got girlfriends. And she goes, Heather, how I got that? The writer-producer walked in and saw me having dinner with you and was like, that's Joan.
Wow.
And so I'm like, but then all these years later, I'm like, I wouldn't have built this.
Right.
Which
you
now
wouldn't
this
have
is a great situation and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
I'm not jealous of anything that I
Right.
see anymore. Like there was a time when I'd be like, like I wish I was on a sitcom. And then my life took away where I'm like, no, I'm very, very satisfied. But like those kind of things. But getting back to The Secret. So my friend dropped it off like on my doorstep, this DVD, and I watched it. And I was like, that's it. And then like literally I went back to doing stand-up. And then like 6 months later, I was working on Chelsea. And then from there, because I also knew I was like 37. I'm like, if I don't get like a regular TV show now,
Yeah.
if I wait like another 5 years, it's going to be too hard
Yeah.
to like, and it was hard. And I have a lot of guilt about not being home with my kids.
Yeah.
Your daughter was born when you were like 39?
Yeah.
And was there ever, how did you maneuver when you were gone, like on a set or whatnot?
Yeah, it was hard. And I mean, it was easier when she was little because when I did RV, I just brought her with me. I did a movie called The Grand and brought her with me. But, she had a great nanny who would bring her to my trailer for lunch, And then, when I was on location, I would have, have someone fly out with her. But it is hard when you look back, and it was hard even at the time because as a mother, you kept thinking, am I doing the right thing? But also, work brought me so much happiness and it made me a happy, full person. So I was always balancing both of those things because I wanted her to see, you know, this is what your life can be. You can have success and um, you can make your dreams come true. And so I wanted to model that for her. And at the same time, there were times when, where I wasn't there for Mother's Day or, yeah. And
I missed a Mother's Day.
yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard. I remember being doing like 5 shows like in Phoenix or something, and it was a great deal because they were like, "It's Mother's Day weekend, like let's listen to a funny mother," right?
Yeah.
And I just remember I like went down and there was all these people having Mother's Day brunch at the hotel, and I was just like,
Why
but
am I
yeah,
here?
but this is what I chose. This is what I wanted. My
Right.
husband was
I
supportive of it,
know.
and I know the kids.
They're
It's not like
okay.
my sons today are like,
It's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to wait on you hand and foot all day. Exactly.
yeah, but it is such it is a challenge, and you always kind of go like, what is the right
Yeah.
thing? And you can't have it all.
Yeah.
You can have it most. You cannot
Yeah.
have it all. Like in
Yeah.
my opinion, like it's something's gonna give.
Right. Because would you be happy just being home all the time? And one might be. Like if I wasn't driven, all I always knew I wanted to be an actor. So that was in me. But when I talk to my daughter, who's grown now, she really wants to be a mother. Like so she talks about it like I talked about being an actor. But so it's interesting because there are definitely some people who that they're not if they're home all the time, they're not sitting there thinking, I wonder if I could have made that other thing happen too.
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, exactly. In talking about when you're dating the Charlie guy, when I was reading that, I'm like, I dated some people that I was like, oh, I wonder if I would have just gone down the, married the Newport guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way that him would have been like, oh, your wife's going down to the improv again? Like, what a
Right.
fucking loser. Like, when is she going to make any money at this? Like, you
Right.
needed, like, so whoever I was going to choose, like, even with my husband, I had boyfriends that were like, I mean, do you ever get any of these auditions? I was like, no, I don't.
No,
I never book anything. I just like
And
going
it's like,
on them.
why do you keep doing it?
Why do you
That
keep
was
doing
Charlie.
it? Yeah.
He'd be like, why would you do a play for free?
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you do it because I love acting. It's like, yeah, but
I love
it
it.
doesn't pay.
I'm like, I'll keep doing it and love it and the excitement of it until I don't love it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and then if I
Right.
feel like, yeah. And so, yeah, I was always doing it when I was doing real estate, when I was doing whatever. I was always had it on. If I wasn't doing stand up, I was still like auditioning and booking enough stuff to like get things. And so I find that like, so interesting. And then as being a mom, and the other part that I thought was so brave in your book of like the idea of why you didn't want to have a second child. Can you kind of speak on that? Because I think it's like,
It's kind of embarrassing to admit.
no, I don't think it is. I think it's really interesting.
Well, when I had my daughter Catherine, I fell in love with her from the moment I saw her face, and I was just like, nobody else in the world matters, and I mean, to this day, I see her and I just, my heart, it just makes me happy. She brings me so much joy and I love her so much. So when she was little, I thought about having another child and I thought, I'm not going to like them because I love her so much.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was, even when she was sleeping, I would take pictures of her because this is her with her eyes closed. This is her sleeping, and I would watch her and I would think if I had another baby, I'm going to get stuck with the baby.
Well, also, I mean, I'm going to go to her. She looks so much like you. And she's gorgeous.
She's very beautiful. I know. I
mean,
wish I
blue
looked like
eyes, the
that.
big. And I remember when I met her, because you invited me to like a New Year's Eve party at your house in Brentwood.
Yeah.
Like a very casual one. I was pregnant with my second son. So she was like 2.
A
And
little.
I remember seeing her. And I was like, oh my God, that's Cheryl's like
A little.
big smile.
Yeah.
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 She's stunning.
Yeah. And so I thought, I'm not falling for this, because if I have a baby, then Paul will get to hang out with Kat, and I'm going to be stuck with a baby I don't like as much as Kat. And then, but I would think about it, I know other people do it. Other people have more than one child. I don't know how they do it.
It is weird. And I remember when I gave birth to my second son, who I love very much, Brandon. But I remember having weird thoughts going, if I had to choose one, I know this one so much better, the one that's 2.5.
And I already like them.
Yeah. I was just like, but then, and I remember even Khloe Kardashian revealed that, she carried one and had to have a surrogate carry the boy. And she was very honest about this connection. And she thought it was the surrogate thing. And I said, I wish she knows it's not that.
Yeah.
It's that the older one.
Yeah.
And the love in the relationship will come, and and then and then you have that younger one that's like into cuddling a lot longer than the older one. Like it's all but I think that what's great about our world and women today is that you really can make those choices for what's right for you, and you shouldn't be sucked into your parents want you to have 2 or whatever, and with your schedule and everything. And one is always easier, and one girl I think is the easiest.
Yeah, she liked to color, She would, and then I would be around, moms with little boys, and they're just
whole different thing.
Jumping on the couches, and but then, like I said, like I talk about in my book, then when I met Bobby, and Bobby had 6 kids already, and I just love them. I love them, and I realized, this is what happens. You don't have the same. You're never going to have the same relationship with each child. It's so different.
It's so different. And so many times, people are like, oh, she was the favorite or whatever. It's like, I think that it's sometimes if it's your personality just aligns better with one. Yeah. Sometimes you're too much like the child.
Yeah.
And you might butt heads a little bit. Yeah. Or, or you're also, so much like that you get along or whatever it is. But the love, I believe, is the same.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes, the relationship's a little different. And also in different stages of life.
Right.
One child could be the easiest teenager ever, and then maybe they struggle in their 20s or vice versa. Like, there's no, get past the toddler years. Toddler years for some kids might be the easiest. I don't know. I don't know what your kid's going to be like in 4th grade. Like, you know? And so,
So when I had stepkids,
they're all so cute.
No, they're so.
And you have. I didn't realize you have grandchildren.
I do.
How great is that? I
It's always tell
pretty
people
cute.
Like
people don't realize the joy of being marrying someone that's maybe a little older or later in life, whether you have kids or not. Even if you're a woman who never had kids, you can be hot step grandma.
I am hot step grandma. I'm Cher Bear. Because just like my mom,
cute.
I talk about my mom in the book because her name is Rosemary. And when she became a step grandmother, she didn't want to be called grandma. So we called her Cracklin' Rosie. And for so many years, I thought, that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be called grandma. And then, I have my step grandkids. It's like, just call me Cher Bear. Don't you dare call me grandmother.
Speaking of which, you did a movie, The Moms, what was it called?
Bad Moms Christmas.
Bad Moms. And I was like, why is Cheryl playing the mother of Kristen Bell?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope they established that like she gave birth at 14.
I think we did talk about that. I had her when I was very young, in my, 18 or 19 or something.
I always think that must have been kind of interesting. Like when you got the offer, was that an offer too? Was there any part of that you were like, oh, okay, I don't know that I identify as a grandmother with a daughter of this age, but like I'm not going to turn down a role. Like, is there anything in that's like, good news is you got a part. Yeah. Bad news is you're playing someone that you're not.
It was a discussion, because it was like I was, talking with the directors, and I'm like, are people going to believe it. But then if you guys are saying that then you see me as being old enough. So I guess that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
And then we did, and then, yeah, they sort of rewrote that part in the script where I was really, really young when I had her.
Okay, so then what I also love before we get to here we are getting married to your second husband, Bobby. What I loved is I know you got divorced from Kat's dad. I did not know that you had the nicest divorce,
Yeah.
the most pleasant co-parenting. I mean, how the hell does that happen? And in Hollywood, like
Yeah.
and you don't talk that much about it, but I don't know how much more you want to tell me. Like, when did you kind of feel like, I don't think this is forever? Or did you ever have the discussion before you guys both agreed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was, we were married for 7 years, and I know that he was working a lot. I was working too, but just so really it was Kat, everything was about Kat. And we just have a different approach in life. Paul is intense. He's like, he's great at negotiations. He does contracts and stuff. And he's like, if both sides aren't mad at the end, it wasn't a good negotiation. It's like, and people would come up to me and go, wow, your husband's like bulldog. And I'd say, oh, I know. So he said he's mellowed out, but still has that intensity, but in a different way. But I was always, I remember one time we were talking about money, and talking about what happens if we don't have enough money for this. And I said something stupid like, well, we'll just plant another money tree. And he's like, I'm trying to have a conversation, and it's like, oh, I know, I'm listening. I'm sorry. And you're right. There are no money trees. Okay. But so my approach is always a little bit lighter, and look on the bright side. Let's focus on the positive. And it's not a good match that way, because we would have a hard time communicating sometimes, because it's like.
So you guys have a good divorce. He actually went on you guys would vacation together with Bobby and you and your daughter.
Yeah.
And so you fall in love with Bobby, and you met him years back at the Waterkeeper event. Yes. And then which was a big charity, which I did a video. Rachel, your best friend, my friend too, Rachel Harris. I did a little video of it. And then I went to the evening, and then I saw you guys there, and you're like, what are you doing here? And you're just like walking through the thing. And I was like, oh, okay. Can I go on this? Peter was like, get us on the ski trip. Like, we were watching this whole thing, and there's like a celebrity ski trip. And I'm like, I just think they wanted me for like the PSA video. I don't know what, but it was all good. But when you got married, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that Cheryl is marrying a Kennedy, because there's so many interesting things about the connection of the universe. Yeah. One was that you loved Carol Burnett more than anybody. Mine was the Joan Rivers, and I met Joan Rivers too. I would stay up to watch Joan Rivers when she would guest star on Johnny, but you would go in the other room to watch Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
And because of our friend Julie Welch, whose parents worked on Carol Burnett's show, Carol actually came to the show to watch
the Sunday Company. She came to the Sunday Company.
I don't know if I was on there. I don't know if I totally remember that. That might have been when I wasn't.
You would have remembered, I think, because it was such a big deal.
Yeah.
We were like, and remember at the Groundlings, like you could peek through like a tiny crack, and sometimes you could see somebody in the audience. And I just remember, Carol coming and feeling like, wow, the universe is crazy.
And then do you remember when JFK Jr. came too?
I do. Now,
in my memory, but I don't know if it's true, he was wearing a beret. Remember when he was wearing berets a lot? I talked to this to Carol Radziwill, who was, who Carol Radziwill is. So, and she was like, Heather, she's like, laugh. She was like, I don't know if he was wearing I'm like, he would wear a beret shirtless in the streets of New York, like the way I imagine, like,
I don't remember if he was wearing a beret.
I don't
But
know
he
if
might have been wearing like a beanie.
like a beanie, yeah.
I don't,
And-
it would be, that would be hilarious if he was in a beret at the Groundlings.
But the connection of Brian Ruff, who was his friend,
Kevin Ruff.
sorry.
Yeah.
Kevin Ruff, who was his friend, who was an
Yeah.
actor,
Yes.
but also a lawyer. He's the
Yes.
one who invited him.
Yes.
And so then to find out, I'm like, this is such a weird thing that Cheryl is now marrying into the Kennedy family. And like, I'm like, how great is this? Like this is like, and I remember thinking like, wow, Cheryl's led a life. Like, you know, like from like,
From Tallahassee, Florida
to that. Okay. I'm
to-
like, and this is great. You know, he does this great shit. Who doesn't like water?
Right. Everybody
It's a
likes clean water.
Yeah, everyone likes clean water.
Who's mad about that?
No
Nobody.
one's mad about clean
Mm-mm.
water. And then when he was running for president, at first it seemed quite positive
Mhm.
for people from both sides being like,
Well,
this
yes.
is who I'm going to go for because I don't like this person. I don't like this person. And I was like, oh my God, like Cheryl might be the first lady. And I was like, I wish you would have kept in touch a little bit better because I'm like, I want a fucking invite to the White House.
Uh-huh.
And so I want to know
Yes.
during the window of where it wasn't Hollywood hating you
Uh-huh.
and your husband, were there some friends that was like, this is fucking cool, Cheryl. This could be a lot of fun for us. Can I spend the night?
I mean,
Like who was like in it and excited? Or was everyone just like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, most people were like, what the hell's going on? There was hardly anybody who was daydreaming about.
No, you should have kept in touch with this thirsty bitch.
But
No.
people did like to ask me in interviews, you know,
Yeah.
because and there was no good answer, right? Because
Yeah.
if I said, "Oh yeah, I would love to be first lady and dream about picking out the wallpaper, or starting my own foundation or whatever," then that answer would be like, "Whoa, somebody's delusional."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I said, and the truth was, I really did not sit around thinking about that because the reality of what would have to happen and the universe aligning for that to happen was so.
So you never really thought it was a possibility that he could win.
There
But
were-
did you act
well,
like
there-
you were like? I mean, did you have a conversation like he's doing this, but he's not? Or were you like, "Hey, Bobby, you do you, boo," and I'll be there if it works out. But then in your own head or on the phone to your sister, you're like, "This is not going to ever freaking happen."
Well, there were. I did feel like it was possible.
Okay.
It was a lot of it was not probable, and mostly because of the way that election unfolded. It was because when he first said he was going to run, he was running as a Democrat, and that was before the primaries. So that was, I think he announced in July, and then the primaries they start in the next year in January. So usually the primaries, the Democratic primaries, it starts to, after a few primaries, one candidate will start winning, and it's an indicator that this candidate has the most support. And so for me, it was like, okay, let's get to the primaries and see what kind of support you have. So every bit of along the way, it was different hurdles that you had to get over. So at that moment, I'm not thinking, well, I can't wait to get to the White House. I'm like, let's get to the primaries and see what happens. But then right before the primaries, word was, and it did happen, that they were canceling the primaries, and states were just saying, okay, we're going to support Biden.
Right.
So then it was clear he had no path he could not win a primary if there were no primaries.
Right.
So then he switched to an independent, and to get on the ballot as an independent is so different than if you were a Republican or a Democrat. And I'm probably boring your audience because they're like, we
No,
don't care.
in the past,
Yeah.
because, lived on this earth long. Yeah, there was Perot. There were
Right.
some that
Right.
like got a little further, but then they would say, don't vote for the independent because they're never going to win and you're wasting your vote.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So it was never it was never that I didn't
Yeah.
believe Bobby. I think Bobby would make an amazing president. He's very, very smart. He's a great leader. And he's a graceful person. But it was for him for an independent to win, and it just hasn't happened before.
Right.
So, I wasn't like packing my bags for the
Right.
White House. I was like,
Right.
let's get through April, and then we'll see what May looks like.
And so then we jump to, when that's it, he has endorsed Trump and all of this. And you get dumped from Hollywood Friends. You are, and I was like, it made me sad
Yeah.
to like see that and read it. Not surprised.
Yeah.
And you've been very graceful in talking about, I'm just going to say it, Tig Notaro, she did a podcast. She said how she could no longer talk to you or have any association with you because you're married to Bobby Kennedy. And you said, could you please, we want to share our thoughts of where we realize that we're not not different people. We could, whatever it was. And no, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to be like, I don't want to hear anything that might convince me of otherwise, of the decision I made, of the path I'm on, whatever. And that was sad because you guys had a friendship. You had a fun podcast where you talk about documentaries. And I just want to say to that person did not love you enough to want to be your friend forever.
Yeah.
And in Hollywood, you can be very close. And when you're comedians and when you're doing podcasting and the world is listening to a friendship, they get very sad when the friendship ends because they're like, we saw the friendship.
Yeah.
But it still is a working relationship. And sometimes that just happens. I've had a friend where I wasn't happy that they were still aligned with somebody that hurt me very much. But I was like, but I love this friend so much.
Yeah.
That there's no way I'm going to let this friend out of my life.
Yeah.
And maybe in a couple of years, this won't even matter.
Right.
But I'm not going to do something so definitive that they're no longer in my
Part
life.
of your life. Yeah.
And I can't, that must have been like so weird and hard for you.
It was hard, and I was surprised, and I guess and then I stopped being surprised, but I was surprised that, because I know people are passionate about politics. I know it's very upsetting to some people, no matter who's in office.
No, but it has changed. I mean, it's crazy.
People are really, really.
I mean, I forgot about this until I was doing my makeup this morning, but my aunt, Claire Carey, she passed. She was raised a Democrat with my dad because the dad was in the unions. He was a firefighter. And then in the 50s, she was like working as an independent lady. She didn't get married till she's 34. And she married DJ Carey. And DJ Carey came from the Careys, who are a huge Democratic family.
Mm-hmm.
She had switched to becoming a Republican during the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And she married him, and his brother became the governor of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And the Carey friends were probably, if you say it to your husband, he'll know several of my cousins. That the kids hung out. They went to boarding school together. They knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she never stopped being a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And all the families knew it. All the families knew it. And she'd laugh about it. And it was fine.
Right.
I think she voted for her brother-in-law, but other than that,
right.
And it was like,
it
wasn't like they didn't they didn't not do Christmas together. They did not. It was never. It was kind of. It was sort of interesting and kind of funny. And like that was it. And it's
Right.
like, of course, now people are probably screaming, okay, I get it. But I'm just saying it is interesting that,
I know.
there was a time when either
People
you didn't
could-
talk about it or you could agree to disagree and still
Right.
be friends and family.
Yeah.
And
Agree to disagree.
and there's something maybe with social media, something where it's just so ingrained in you that for a certain population of people, they have decided this is this,
Mm-hmm.
like a religion on both sides.
Yeah.
And there is
Both
nothing that will change their mind,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they will give up people and because they've gone down such a long path that they
Yeah.
can never go, you know what? I was wrong about that.
No,
They're-
nobody.
it's
No,
just-
nobody will say that.
Of these types.
Of these
Other
and-
people, yeah.
And that's the extreme.
Other people, yeah. Most of us will be like,
right.
oh,
yeah.
I did think that, and now I feel differently.
Right.
Or that's a good point. Oh, well,
I'm
God,
gonna
you
think
knew-
about
yeah,
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really hard because you were never that extreme person. You were a Democrat, at one point an independent, So, and he was, when you got with him, it was perfect.
Yeah.
You're with the Democrat. He's from the cool family, the loved family. Like who doesn't like water?
Yeah.
All
Everybody
safe.
loves that. Yeah.
It's like I said about the Cybertruck. I go, nothing went from so cool to so uncool so quickly, except for the Cybertruck and Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby, it was a 180. I'm like, oh, okay. This is where we are now. Okay. Yeah.
And when he said, well, we could fake a separation because he
Yeah.
felt so bad because nobody liked you anymore. And you're like, let's not do that.
I'm like, but you know what? I understand it because I have some friends that I don't want people having feelings about my friends being friends with me. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to bring anything bad into someone else's life. And I know that's what he was watching it all happen. He's watching the podcast end. And yeah, I have a few friends that I really,
What do you mean the podcast ends?
with Tig.
Oh, yes.
So,
Okay.
so,
sorry.
and
Oh,
he
yeah.
and he knew, this is happening because of me.
Yeah.
I am people hate me so much. People hate me so much. They are starting to hate you. And I feel really bad about it. And I don't want that. I don't want that for you. It was very sweet, but
I mean, if anything, when people were like, and in the book, like, yelling at, saying like, you need to tell your husband and how could you be with that man and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, probably at one point, there was well, thank God I have you, Bobby. Like, thank God we have each other because fuck these other people. They obviously weren't real in my life. Do you
know.
imagine if you dumped your husband to go hang out with these other people to like go on a trip to Spain? And then it's like,
then
no, like this is family and this is this.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're
Yeah.
right. This too shall pass. Like, who knows where things will be in a couple years? And you
Right.
said that about time. Like, I wish I could just skip 2 years
Yeah.
ahead. And I've had that in times in my life too,
Yeah.
or like parenting challenges. Like, can I just see where you are
right.
at 25 so I can just like stop worrying? Like, I don't
Yes.
know, but you just have to go through it.
Right. You have to go through it. You just have to go through it. And you're right. It was always, I've always been a very family oriented person. It's always
No,
been
I
my
always
family
remember that
first.
because so close to your sister, like
Yeah.
I am. Your parents were at that little New Year's Eve party at the Brentwood house. Like, yeah.
So it was strange when people were, some people, feel like, oh, you should leave him. It's like, why? Because you don't like his politics? Like, that's not what our marriage is about.
Yeah, and I mean with the vaccine thing, I don't know if you know, but I fainted on stage.
I did see
So
that.
very viral, and I thought
I know.
finally I have a viral moment doing stand up, and it
And it's
absolutely did nothing for my
nothing.
career. Everybody just hated me because the left thought I was like a plant for the anti-vax, and the right thought I was being disrespectful because I said Jesus loves me the most right before I fainted. And they thought Jesus came down and flicked me.
Oh.
And I said, I've been Catholic my whole life. Like, Jesus and I are good, whatever. But it was one of those things. And, but I was like, well, maybe this was meant to be because it did add to the discussion.
Yeah.
Didn't help my career at all, but my career is fine. But it didn't. But it was. It even then I would do interviews and stuff, and they would say, well, what is it? And I go, look, I don't know, but I did get the booster 2 weeks before to the day.
Yeah.
And so, and then, and even Chelsea had a situation right before going on stage where she had like a heart thing. But whatever, she didn't talk about, I didn't talk about, because people were like, just don't talk, like, like it's just going to be banned and you're going to in trouble for even discussing it. And the truth is, I don't know. I just know I've never fainted before. I've never fainted after. I'd had every test done. Thank God I'm fine.
Yeah.
And also I'd say, you don't know how many people felt dizzy, but just sat down.
Right.
Or were sitting down when they felt dizzy. When I felt dizzy, I was on stage.
Right.
So there was no way for me to grab
readjust.
or go, you guys, hold on.
Right.
I know I have 2 shows and 2 meet and greets, but I'm seeing dots.
Yeah.
Like, no. So that's why a lot of people, I think, you see all those of people fainting because they were on camera, so they weren't addressing the fact they don't feel well. Well, because
imagine at the athletes. That was also the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, the athletes were out on the field, like going 90 miles an hour, and then to feel that way.
Right.
But yeah, and it's so
interesting because I'm like,
why are people mad at you? Why are people mad at you? What if your experience?
What if for some people it didn't work out? For others it did. Let's just make sure it's safe going forward. Like, what does it matter? Like, I mean, I had to show that I was vaccinated to perform at the clubs.
Right.
And I was fine with that.
Right.
I never had an issue with anything. With my son, during the Jenny McCarthy time, because he's just a little younger than her son, I was watching the Oprahs and everything and talking about the vaccines and the connection to autism. And the next day, my child didn't look me in the eye. And he was coming on his 18-month shots. And I was like, oh my God. For 6 months, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to tell this doctor. I don't wake up in the middle of the night. I went to the doctor and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this appointment. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know about getting all the shots. He goes, Drake got all his shots at 1 year.
Oh my God.
That guy was like, what? Like, he had like 15 at one time and luckily he was fine.
Yeah.
But like, so what? Like that you spread it out or wait or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know if people get mad because they feel like in some way maybe they made the wrong choice and therefore it's their fault, or they want to make sure that no matter what, their choice was right. Like, again, like, who cares? Like,
I know.
Who cares? Like,
we're not, nobody's judging anybody, or they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So that's what is hard to understand too about why can't we listen to someone's experience?
Yeah.
Like without calling them crazy or making it political.
Yeah.
Like, you fainting on stage has nothing to do with politics and
No.
zero to do with politics. It was a moment in time for you. It was a health moment, and that's it.
Right.
So there's something about, the vaccine situation that really has people want to tell other people how they feel about it. They need to tell other people how they, not everybody, of course, but how they, one way or the other.
Right. Or when people say, well, I had an uncle who died of COVID. I'm like, yeah, that is really horrible. But why does that matter if your neighbor didn't get it or doctored up a card so that they could work? I don't know. I didn't, it didn't matter to me. I was like, I don't care if you get it or not. I'm getting it because.
Right. The vaccine.
For the vaccine. Because for me, I would go out and when it was before the vaccine, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be like, can I still smell my hand lotion? Because they always said you couldn't smell. So I was like, I just don't want to worry about getting it, So I was happy to get it. And I was happy to get the booster and I was happy to do all the things. And I was like, whatever. But I also respected people that were like, I'm not doing that. Okay, fine,
Right.
And,
same.
And I had jokes about it on the other side too. I'm like, yeah, all these people that are like, I'm not putting a needle in my, and they're like going to get Botox. Like, I'm like,
Right.
like, who cares?
Right.
Like, but again, it's whatever your thing
Right.
is. So
Right.
it's just, I just think that, so that when I saw The View, so you go on The View, and I'm curious, because you've been on The View over the years, I'm sure promoting a million things. And did you know you were going into this situation, or were they hugging you and were sweet? Did they act like it was going to be more about funny stories like we told earlier in this episode, or what did they think it was?
Well, I was told that, they were glad that it was coming on, which was good. And that it wasn't that they weren't going to attack me.
Yeah.
But then, when I talked to a producer about what the segment would look like, it was clear. It was like, oh, okay. They want to talk to you about vaccines. They want to talk to you about Bobby. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. So at that point I knew, I'm not going to have a good time. I'm going to field questions about Bobby. And at that point I felt like that's okay. Bring it on. And it was good timing for me because Bobby's, been secretary of HHS for 10 months now and has accomplished a lot of really great things, for the health of America. So I was glad to talk about it, and even some of the things that even for me when he was during his Senate hearings while he was getting grilled about being secretary, and they kept saying, "You're not a doctor. You are not a doctor." And the first time I heard that, I thought, "Oh no, he's not a doctor. Did they not know he's not a doctor? Or why is this so important? Is this usually like a surgeon that has this, this title?" And then now, knowing what I know, most of them are not doctors. Our last secretary was not a doctor, was a politician. A lot of them have been politicians, governors. There was a economist. You know how many Democratic secretaries of HHS? 0. So it's like, but I believed it too, even during that hearing where I was like, ooh, he's not a doctor. And then I've just been, like I said, I've been learning so much where it's like, doesn't need to be a doctor. That's not his role as secretary. So I was ready for those kind of questions and really attacks. Some of them weren't questions. They were just like, your husband's not qualified. It's like, was the economist qualified? Like, what? So I knew going on that show that they were going to come at me. And, and I really just wanted to try to connect with them and have a conversation about it.
Do you imagine, though, too, like if there was a man who was on a show with a bunch of other men and his wife was in some type of powerful position, and they're like, tell your wife she's a dumb bitch.
I know.
That doesn't know anything, and you need to divorce her ass. Otherwise, you're kicked out of the club. Like, that would never happen. Yeah. And it's just so interesting that, women, can judge, hey, even if you, it doesn't, you're married to him and you do support and obviously believe what he's doing is great. But, even if you didn't and just stayed silent during these years or whatever, what is it anyone's business?
I know.
You're going to tell your husband of whatever, how old he is, no, you're not, who's a lawyer who's lived in this life and been around the Kennedy forever.
Has been working
and
so
knows,
hard
right,
in
and
this
knows about
field.
stuff like this and has fought, it's just, what are you supposed to do?
It's going to hurt people's feelings. Oh, they're going to be mad that if you get this job.
When you guys got in this position in politics and now in the White House, did you have any friends or wayward family members that was like, hey, can you help a third cousin out with some shit? Did you have anybody that was like, oh, cousin Cheryl, she can get us
she
what
can
we
pull
need?
some strings?
Yeah.
I don't have that. But I do have, it's hard because it's health.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that want to tell me their health situations. So that's hard because it's like, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I can help research with you, but
Yeah.
I can't do anything. I don't
Right.
I don't have a doctor I can call for you. It's not, so that's hard,
Yeah.
It's not like comedy where it's like, oh, I wrote a script. Can you give it to Spielberg? It's like, no, but give me the script and if I run into him, I'll try to give it to him.
Yeah.
It's such a, serious situation that part. But no, nobody's calling like, oh, can you get me out of a speeding ticket? No, nobody's.
Now, I mean, it's hard to say, like, have you been blackballed or not been asked to do as many things as you would think, or maybe you're no longer at the top of the list to play the mom and the whatever. Do you have some pretty clear understanding that that might be the case?
I think,
It's a hard thing to say.
It is.
Because it's an unprovable thing.
it is.
It's like when people are like, when I was like, I don't know if I was blackballed, but like I never, got no longer these things weren't happening for me and I just had to
Right.
accept it because there isn't necessarily a blackball. There's just one person saying, no.
Right.
There's no, I don't want that person here. No,
Right.
that's not what I want. Or maybe having her on screen will trigger people at home because she's associated to something who's associated to somebody else that
Right.
that half the world hates.
Right. Which
Yeah.
is quite possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's quite possible. I
Yeah.
mean, it's especially, I would imagine if your spouse is a high profile person, that's some people really love and some people really don't. I mean, maybe you're right. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what people are saying behind,
Yeah.
closed doors, but it's quite possible. But also, I have people calling me, offering me things.
And are any of those people that might have been at one time in your position or currently, and they're like, don't let this bother
Oh,
you. Like, I've
yeah.
been there. I wasn't getting nominated for the things. I was blackballed at one time. I
No.
was,
Yeah.
on that side and had to keep it a secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I say yes to that.
Right.
I mean, I was talking to somebody who very successful, is, producing more very successful things and said, yeah, I mean, I basically moved out of LA because uh, people are so mad. And
So was this person still in the closet or no? The closet of their politics?
politics. I don't think so, but I think they've moved to a place where that doesn't come first.
Right.
So now this person has moved to literally a different city where people are like, "Oh, what are you making next? What are you shooting
Yeah.
next?" And it's not, I don't think politics it comes into it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've never been a person to ask anybody about their politics. I don't know I have never asked somebody who they voted for, or if they're
The first time I realized that, and I had no idea, I was so naive or whatever, is I was guest starring on something. It might have been, I can't remember what it was. I didn't have that many guest stars, so whatever. And I just remember it was like the third day of the week-long thing. And Bush had won.
Mhm.
Or something was going on. I think that was the time we didn't know if it was going to be Bush or Gore. It like lasted weeks or whatever. And that's when I was like, oh, everybody feels one way.
yeah,
And interesting.
Right.
Like everybody feels one way and is all voicing that one
The
way.
same.
And if anyone didn't feel that way, oh, okay. keep
wouldn't say it.
Yeah, don't say it because
Yeah.
it can be interpreted and it can, stick with you forever. And now
Yeah.
you have like this
Label.
I guess instead of a scarlet letter A, it's a scarlet letter R or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then it's just, and then even you're like, no, that's not true. That's not the way I feel or whatever. And it's like they're just trying to it's like a witch hunt, literally, like
It
a
is
Salem. It's like,
strange.
what does it matter? And like, what do you care? And And then sometimes it's like, oh, that person has the luxury to say what they want, what they feel.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Right.
That could be fun to have the luxury to say what and just
yeah.
know that you're so above it. It doesn't matter. But I kind of feel like with you now, obviously you love acting. It's something you've dreamt and wanted to do your whole life. And it took a long time to get there. First 10 years here was not, a success story. So it's not like overnight you showed up. But is there a part of you at all that's just like, oh, well, fuck you. Like, then you know what? I'll take a little break from it and I'm going to enjoy this part of my life. And like, it'll all be there when I come back.
Yeah.
And or not, or I'll produce my own things, or like, is there any of that? Like, because you've already accomplished so much. You've been to all the award shows, you've been in the movies, you've been in the things. So like,
there was a time when I wasn't ready for change. I didn't want things to change. Like you said, I worked really hard. I was very focused on my career, and I've worked with great people. I've done, really fun projects, and I was not ready for that to change. And so when Bobby started running, I was like, I don't know if this is going to change everything. I don't know how. I don't know if I'm ready. And I talk about that in the book too, right? There are moments in your life where you're like, I'm just not ready for what's about to happen. Can I have a minute?
Brace
and
for
the
impact.
universe says, and no, you can't.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of, self-reflection and just saying, okay, change is coming. So you either embrace it or you're going to be really unhappy. You're just going to always be unhappy.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how it's going to work out, but odds are it is not going to work out the way you think. I mean, I don't know one person who thinks, oh, that's going to work out exactly this way, and then it unfolds that way. So I'm at a place now where, I'm completely fine with however it works out. You know what I mean? It will. I'm producing a film with my ex-husband.
Good.
And we're having a lot of fun doing it. And whatever is going to unfold is going to unfold. And you're right. I've done a lot of things that I dreamed of doing. So that's great. So I don't feel like, oh my God, I never had the chance to do that one thing. So, if people feel like, and I don't think they do, I'm sure there are individuals that feel like, I hope she never works again in her life.
Yeah.
It's like, I will be okay.
Right.
I'm okay. Like I have a really fun life. I always have, even when I didn't have an acting job, even when I was, 25 and struggling.
I mean, we have a lot of that in common, is that I've enjoyed the journey the whole way.
Yeah.
And, and when I've been sad, I'm grateful that I knew the reason why.
Yeah.
I didn't suffer from any kind of mental depression or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just very get up and go and be positive and laugh about it. And I think that's what we connected. And you're very spiritual, and you could see in the book, and like I said, a lot of the, what do you call it, prayer, manifestation, universe, the way things lined up is very intriguing as we get to this age of oh my God, isn't that interesting?
Because that happened.
Yes,
that happened so that thing could happen.
Right, exactly. And the lack of then where you're oh my God, my regrets are minimal, or my regrets are just oh, I should have gone to that wedding or whatever.
Right.
But they're not, they're not huge. They're not the regrets of yesteryear. You're are no longer a regret, because you're oh, if that hadn't exactly what you were saying, and with everything of what you're doing now, and I do want to say now I was always intrigued by the Kennedys. I watched every Lifetime movie about Jackie O. I was obsessed with JFK Jr. I just so intrigued by it all. And one of my questions was, was that you? Because some people say, oh, Meghan Markle said, Harry who? Is he kind? And they're you knew who Harry was. You had Diana's book by your bed in college. what was your relationship of knowing the history of the Kennedy family? As far as just pop culture knowledge or...
No, I really didn't know anything other than what I'd learned in school.
Right.
So I knew John Kennedy, the president. I barely knew Robert Kennedy was the attorney general. Also, never showed up on my radar. I was never a person that was where we'd sit around and talk about Jackie.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I didn't know anything about them. And I know it's probably worked to my advantage. It's because I
just remember that was my mom's. That's my mom's. I remember my mom said when she married my dad, she was like, that was like the first time she voted. They voted different. She was voted for Kennedy and he voted for Nixon. And she was like, I don't know if this marriage is going to work, but clearly it did.
It's not going to work.
They lived, were together till they died. You could do that with your spouse.
Right.
And it wouldn't be this like thing.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, now my guy didn't win, like whatever. You know, and it just doesn't feel like that for a lot of people. But yeah, so you weren't the person that was reading all the stuff.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I didn't know. I really didn't know. It just seemed like a far away.
Yeah.
People far away doing something on a beach or something. And it's like, that's not my life.
And how is your daughter's relationship with her stepfather?
It's really good. I mean, there definitely have been times that were hard because I don't know that many kids want their parent to run for president. It's because it's so out of your control.
Yeah.
I felt like that as a wife where it's like,
right.
It's so out of my control. This isn't my life. I'm not saying I want to run for president. But so.
Are people cruel to her?
I think once in a while somebody online will say something.
Well, everyone can be brave online.
Yes. But in real life, I mean, she's such a lovely, smart, funny girl that I've never seen anybody be mean to her. I mean, people aren't mean to me either. They're mean to Bobby. It's weird.
You said you've been in public where and you said the demographic of people that come and tell them to fuck you are middle-aged
white women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to get one on camera one of these days. I can't.
So you'll just be like eating. Enjoying a Chinese chicken salad.
Yes.
He's having his, lean meat or whatever he eats.
Yes.
And then I heard the sauerkraut thing that was very funny. I have heard that sauerkraut and things like that is really like a good diuretic for everybody. But anyway, so he's into eating that. So he brings that with him sometimes. And you guys are just having a meal and someone just comes up. Yeah. And what does he do? Just smile? What does he say?
Just sits there and listens and it does not have the effect that the person is hoping it will.
Yeah.
Because they end up looking crazy. And I mean, it's kind of comical.
Yeah.
Because when they walk away, you're like, oh, holy shit. Did everybody see that? But it's, sometimes, I think I say in the book that we were at some restaurant and some woman said something on her way out and nobody even looked up from dinner. They're just like, well, there goes the crazy lady. So it's weird.
Yeah.
It's strange.
And I don't think people realize you've been married since 2014.
Yeah, we've been married for a long time.
For 11 years.
Yeah.
And so when the digital scandal of this girl saying that she was interviewing him, your husband, and there was flirtation going on, and it was very weird how it came about. I was suspect to how it came out because it was like her husband, who she's divorcing, went to her boss who said, I saw this weird thing. And, and it's the height of
the election was happening
Bobby's
in 2 months.
Yeah, Bobby's appearing dangerous to possibly be successful in this situation. Mm-hmm. But what was that like? I mean, when you had to wake up to that latest thing?
I was, by that point, he'd been running for a year and a half. He had endorsed Donald Trump, and people were going crazy. People were going crazy already. So there were already so many stories, like so many headlines that were just, you learn to not even pay attention to them. But that one, I was in Italy with my girls, and then this story breaks, and I'm like, I can't hear one more. This is too much. It just felt like too much. I was just like, it's such a circus.
Yeah.
That running for president is such a circus. And, election day was November 5th.
And you were in Europe with your daughter and your stepdaughter.
Yeah.
I love that you say my girls and my children, and I'm a stepmother too. And I refer to my daughter as my daughter. She calls me mom. Like, it's all lovely. And I love that they're close too. But I see. So you were just like.
I was just like, you all sound crazy. That's how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I stayed with my daughters, and we had a good time. And then when I got back, it was just like a stop down with Bobby. Just like, tell me everything. What is going on? And then, we got to the truth of what was going on. And then that felt like, oh, okay. Okay.
And what do you think is the truth? That it was like a setup thing?
I'm not I couldn't know this person. I don't know this person. That's a question for somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got it.
But everything about it it's a lot of, like you were saying, even to try to get to the bottom of it, it just turns into a strange rabbit hole of, this thing happened, this person said this thing, and then it just gets exhausting.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm not interested.
Now, has there been any like holiday party of a celebrity person that you've worked with that you've been invited to every year, and then like last year you just like didn't hear, and then you opened up Instagram and it was still going on? And you're like, oh, I've gone for the last 9 years. I wonder what happened to my invite.
Checking my mailbox, like, it's got to be in here. No, I don't have that. But but listen, I do have friends that I have, 2 friends from the Sunday company that I've been friends with for this long, and they're not talking to me. And it's like, okay.
Okay, you'll tell me after. But
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Well, I have to tell you one last funny thing before we close. So when I was at Chelsea, like I said, we're busy. I don't live in your neighborhood. I don't see you, but like I have love for you and everything. And I get this email to go to your birthday party. And I literally just told my friend Kate Casey, I go, I'm interviewing Cheryl, and she's a great podcaster too. And I go, I don't know, I'm going to ask her, because until I read this part in your book, so this is what happened.
Okay.
I get an invitation to go to Cheryl's birthday party, and it seemed like it was like a big year or something. And it was a pool party barbecue, bring your favorite exotic animal. So I thought it was Cheryl just being funny, but I thought it's going to be a beautiful pool party in this house in Brentwood. Mm-hmm. And of course I want to go, because I'm not hanging out with this side of Hollywood as much, and I want to like reconnect with the Groundling type people, and oh my God, I'll see all the important people that might say, oh, Heather'd be good for that. Okay, she's not in the 818. She's over here looking cute. So anyway, I was like, and then like shortly after, this email comes, and it's like, my daughter hacked my email. This party's not happening, whatever. And I was like, oh. And I remember thinking, how old is that daughter? Like, how could she do this, And so then time went on. And I have to tell you, I convinced myself that there was somebody else, that my email is heathertobias@hotmail.com. I've had it since before I was married. I have other emails. But that's where it came. And I go, I wonder if she had a friend named Heather Debbins or whatever. And somehow she invited me, and she didn't really mean to invite me. I really did think that until I read
my book.
in the book last night.
That is so
And I'm sitting at like 11 at night, and I'm like, oh my God, I really was
invited.
Well, I wasn't. I was invited by your daughter. You never had the party. But I'm like, it wasn't a mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. That's so funny.
But like how you just get in your head. But I still was like, I still love Cheryl. I'm still going to ask her to come on Juicy Scoop. I still support her. I still
really?
think. Yeah, it didn't make me go, oh, fuck you, whatever.
That is so
And then
crazy.
I still also wondered because in people were saying, oh, Cheryl and Tig's show is so funny. And at one time they tried to call you or something. You had phone numbers. And I was like, oh. And then I listened to it, and Tig was like, Heather's not relevant. Something like that. She's like, nobody might like the average person wouldn't know who Heather McDonald is or something like that. And I remember I just heard it, and I was like, I know I'm not on a TV show. I know I'm not, at the level of that part. But I was like, I do fucking pretty well for myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So then when someone was like, no, you really need to call into their show, I was like, no, I think they might be like mocking my podcast, like being like, oh, like, so I don't know. And I know it. And I didn't really let it get too much to me, which is why I was like, when I saw you had a book and I wanted you to come on.
Because we were talking, there was some documentary that I knew that you
had a connection to her.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, we've got to call Heather. But I don't remember what happened. I think I tried to call you, no?
No, you did. People said it was funny, and I just, didn't see it.
But like Tig was.
Probably just saw, like, I probably, if I have your number, it's probably just 310 whatever. I didn't have it in my thing because it'd been so long.
I was in no way mocking you. I was just like, Heather would know.
No, and when I heard it, it wasn't you. It was kind of, and I was like, like, whatever. Like, I know, like, there's times where I'm like, I think sometimes people see me as like, oh, that's that crazy bitch that talks about housewife, whatever. And I'm like, but I know, like, my life is great. And I know, like, what I've done. But I was just sort of like, okay, like, whatever. But still, I still always knew you. Like,
I know.
I always knew you, and I knew how sweet you were, and I knew what you
I wouldn't do
did
that
for your nephew.
I wouldn't do that.
Like,
people to anybody, but especially you.
People don't know, like, the charitable stuff that you always did. Like, your nephew had cerebral palsy. You're so involved in that. And I remember seeing it and all of that. I remember when Ken Polk died and, like, the stuff that, we put together, and that you were a big part of his memorial. And you've just always been that nice person, that I was like, so I was just kind of like, oh, I think that was just whatever it was. And I'm so glad I didn't let it get to me to the point where I was like, not, but I was a little confused by it. But I wasn't like, well, hey, we hadn't been in touch on the way that we were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was still really happy for your journey.
But okay, if we're having a truth circle. First of all, I would never do that to you. I would never. I think you are amazing, and I'm really proud of you for what you've created, who you are. I mean, you've created something really special, and I think it's unbelievable. And because I did send you that, when I saw the picture of the women smelling people's armpits, and I was like, oh my God, this makes me think of Heather. And I sent it to you, but you never responded. And I was like,
I never saw it.
Oh, because I was like,
I never saw it until I wrote you and said, oh my God, you have a book coming out. You have to come on my show.
Well, it's
and
funny.
Come before it comes out. So
Heather, because I was like, when I sent that to you, it wasn't that long ago.
No, I looked, and I when I was going through the stuff,
I was like,
oh fuck, I missed
Heather's
this.
turned.
Oh no,
that's what I thought. I was like, oh, she's not speaking to me. Okay, that's what I thought. Oh, look at us. But because also in this business, you always wonder, like, well, what was it?
Like I always say when people go, I don't know if I flipped my hair in someone's face in an elevator in 1998 and they've hated me ever since, and they could. Yeah. And then sometimes it's something bigger, and sometimes it's just a miscommunication.
Right.
A mis-DM, a whatever.
Right.
A misunderstanding. Someone's relaying to me what they heard on the show.
What they thought they heard, or somebody said
that's what I always hate.
They said.
Now, when people say they talked about you, sometimes I don't bother to listen, but I go and listen before, and then I go, oh, God, they weren't dissing me.
Yeah.
Who cares? Everyone has a podcast. We all talk. I heard what you said about me on your podcast is the name of my next book. Everyone talks about each other now, and that's
a lot of time to talk.
Yeah, where people, we used to talk behind people's backs. Now we just put a mic and fucking let it rip. But no, I would never, and I felt really badly watching that View thing, and I felt that you came off great, and and I admire to the point where you're you know what? Enough. Because so many of us in this business and during this time have cowered and has been oh, I guess, I can't.
Well, yeah, you can't. I don't want to say anything because this business is hard enough.
Yeah.
You can't give people a reason to say no to you. You learn that early as an actor.
Yeah.
Don't be late. Know your lines. Take direction.
Right.
Have a good attitude. Don't give people a reason to not cast you, to not hire you. So, there is that going on. And like you said, you can feel it. If somebody says, I remember after Donald Trump won the first time, and I was in a green room with a bunch of actors. They were all saying, I can't believe it. And one guy said, oh, yeah, I voted for Trump. And it was whiplash. Everybody looked and everybody stopped talking to this person. And I said, why did you vote? And I had a conversation with him because I thought it was interesting that he was perfectly at ease with saying that when he just created a huge reaction from everybody. I thought the whole situation was, eye-opening. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I honestly had no idea there was that.
Like I said, I've lived in LA my whole life, and I didn't really understand it until I started to work. And then I remember someone saying, my friend had a husband who was a director, and he was a Mormon. And I went to her house, and she had a big bottle of champagne. She goes, here, do you want this? And she goes, every time my husband gets a job directing, his agent sends him a big bottle of champagne. And I go, why? Doesn't he know that he's Mormon? And she's like, no. And don't ever tell anybody. And don't, and I'm like, what? This is so weird. That you're pretending to be this other person. And so I'm like, okay. So, yeah. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was people being dramatic when they talked about oh, there's a secret group and da-da-da, and keep your mouth shut. And I was like, oh, come on, who cares? And then it proved to be true. And then it's no matter what you did or said, they just are trying to, and so then I was just like, you know what?
Okay.
And so then with this show, there was a day in 2016 where I'm like, I'm just never going to talk. And it was hard to come up with topics sometimes that were not political. There was some funny ass shit that happened that I would have loved to have talked about, making fun of all the different sides.
Right.
And I just was like, I'm not going to do this because I just want this to be the escape.
Yeah.
And so then even with having you on, I go, I know this is going to be a controversial thing. And I'm like, finally, fuck off. I don't care.
Yeah.
You're my friend. The book is great. Very interesting life. I hope you enjoy living in both places. I hope another book comes out after. I think this could be a great movie about your life. I think it could be a really interesting movie. And, and whatever happens a couple years from now, I just hope you're
always
still
have each other.
Yeah, we'll always have each other. We'll
always have Sunday. We'll always have
family.
The Sky Bar.
We'll always have the Sky Bar. You'll always have your family, and the rest of it.
Yeah, Who cares?
It's
It's going to come and go.
And things it like happens. There's such big thing, oh
Yeah.
my God, we'll never get over this. And then like sometimes you just keep your mouth shut. A week later, they've all moved on to something else. They've,
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I had a group of haters and then I stopped addressing them. And then I realized they went over to this other girl I know. And I saw her being like, rah, rah, and I'm like, oh God, they're the same ones I'm like, they're the same ones I had. And they went over to you. But it is hard. And when you see it, it's hard to always be like that. And it takes a lot
sometimes it gets
to just
to you.
go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And anyway, the book is very good. And I can't wait to finish it. And I mean, you talk about some really profound things. And the last thing I was going to say is I also think it was interesting. You're raised Catholic. I remember that about us. I too. And of course, the Kennedys are Catholic.
Yeah.
And I also thought, Ethel must have liked that.
Yeah, I guess. We hardly talked about religion, though. But
even if you're not practicing in the
Right.
sense that you're going to mass every
It's
day,
like, okay.
it's like there's an understanding.
Like a shared
there's like an
value or
understanding of that kind of Catholic guilt that makes you sometimes go,
fall in line.
yeah, or feel guilty.
Feel guilty. Yeah.
We have to take Maria to the Sky Bar. I still feel very guilty.
That is so. I'm going to tell her that you said that.
Have her
Maria's
listen. I
fine.
feel really bad. I know. And when I saw her years ago and she was telling me like all the stuff she was doing and she was like working reality TV and I was like, oh, good. She's not mad about the Sky Bar.
No. you know, that's so funny. You know what that reminds me of? One time, this is a long time ago, I went on Jimmy Kimmel. Long time ago. And I made a joke, about his toupee. And because I didn't think he wore a toupee. I was just, making a joke, like his hair looked funny or something. And then when I got home, I thought, oh my God, what if he does wear a toupee? And I just said that on live television. And I worried about it until the next time I went on a show. And then during commercial break, I leaned over and said, I'm so sorry that I said that about your toupee. He goes, I don't wear a toupee. I said, oh. That's what I thought. But then I said that joke and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, have you been carrying this around for years? And I said, I have. I felt so badly. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. He's like, Cheryl, let it go. I don't have a toupee. Nobody cares.
No, but we're so similar like that. Like that there's a
Well,
weird
if you're
thing
carrying
that
around
like
the
haunt me.
Sky Bar,
That'll just kind of haunt me.
Yeah.
Like that was not nice.
Oh, I'm going to forgive you
If I
right
would
now.
have said the models had a +1.
Then we
Then
might have
both
been
the
able to
roommates
do
could
it.
have come and they could have squeezed in the
God.
back of my Tortosellica.
Oh my God.
Everybody, the book is unscripted. You're going to go and pre-order right now so that you're going to get it on Tuesday, November
11th.
They always come out on Tuesday.
They do?
It'll make the bestseller list the following
Let's
Tuesday.
hope.
You'll know.
We'll see. It doesn't matter.
I think it will.
Mm.
And because it's funny, it's intriguing, it's spiritual, it's sad. There's some very sad parts.
I know.
And I loved it. And thank you for coming and staying for so long.
Thank you, Heather.
And everybody follow Cheryl,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's your Instagram?
I think it's like
Just your name.
_. Cheryl Hines.
Yeah, very easy. You
You'll
guys,
find it.
Unscripted. And of course, go to heathermcdonald.net. I have just a few tickets left for my Vegas show, so you better go. November 14th. Bye. Love you. Thank you.